Right. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for coming to our business school industry fellows and professional business talks. I'm very, very pleased that we have Peter Molds here with us. And normally I introduce by reading the bio of the speaker, but with Peter, because I've seen and I heard him talk last year, and I would say I will focus on how inspiring his talk is. I definitely left the session with three or four action points how to change my habits and reflect on some of the things I work on. Peter gives you lots and lots of experience. Thank you, Peter. Over to you.
Hello, folks. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, therefore, not an act, but a habit, said Aristotle. My name is Peter Mols. Thank you, Husni, for the introduction. I am a loving dad, supportive husband, and a good friend to lots of people, I hope. That's what I try and do. And I'm really proud to say that I'm an entrepreneur in residence at Brooks. Um, Over the last 8 years or so, I've founded a couple of companies. I've won some awards, one of which for networking and one of which for supporting lots of businesses. And I've read in that time more than 200 business and personal development books. And right now, I'd say it's safe to say that I'm amongst the happiest that I've been in years, and I'm really grateful today to be able to have the chance to tell you guys a little bit about my story and introduce you to some of the habits that I have developed over the last few years. Now, it's taken me a long time and a lot of growth, uh, especially as someone who's very open about my battles with depression of the past, which affected most of my adult life. Um, and whilst I'm happy now, I was really 26 years old when, you know, not much older than some of you guys on this call, when my world really fell apart, and I want to share the story of that because I think it will help you understand where I've been, and the journey that I've been on. So it's important to start by saying that I've been a student of business my whole life, really. I was fascinated by entrepreneurs since I was about ten years old. And I would tell anyone who would listen to me, even at that age, that I was going to be a millionaire when I grew up. So I studied business through school and then at uni, and I wrote my dissertation on the characteristics of entrepreneurs. Now, I'm dyslexic, and as I latterly found out 4 years ago, I've got ADHD. You're going to discover that about me. I'm sure as I bounce around all over the place during this talk. But I've been so fascinated by entrepreneurs my whole life that I actually was able to hyper focus on my uni dissertation, and it scored 76 and a half, second top of 10,000 students that year on my uni dissertation. Um, and as a result of being fascinated by entrepreneurs and feeling like I knew what I was doing, I started a business almost immediately out of university in New Zealand. Was traveling around, started a backpacker guidebook, managed to raise money, and I had 8 people working for me and had a wonderful time on the journey up. But it all fell apart, and I made some bad decisions in that period in my life, and unfortunately, I ended up losing the business. I lost the money. I lost a couple of friends, and with it, I lost my mental health. And that kind of experience, I think, sent me into one hell of one hell of a depression that lasted for 13 years. And it was that 13 years was kind of a mix of, um, constantly I was on tablets, but I functioned and I didn't function for a really long period in my life. And I was fighting that fight that really is the hardest fight that you can fight because it's the fight with yourself for a lot of that time. And anyone who's experienced those feelings will know that it's hard to hold down jobs and if you feel completely unfulfilled by the jobs that you do. Um, and I suppose, in essence, bringing it full circle, in that period of time, I felt highly unsuccessful. I didn't really feel successful at all. Um, and I think it's important to tell you that because I understand how poor mental fitness can have a significant effect on people, on how we see ourselves, on the stories that we tell ourselves, on the way that we turn up. And, it really affects millions of people in the UK. Apparently, 22.6% of adults in England live with some sort of common mental health condition. Women, who knew, were affected at a higher rate than men. I think that's bullshit. I just think that women are much better at talking about poor mental health than men. Apparently, there's about 15% of men and 24% of women. But I think that the really interesting thing is that poor mental health amongst the younger people in our society, kind of 16 to 24-year-olds, are up there at like 26%. It's the highest rate of, poor mental health. And I think that's why I decided to give this talk today, because I think, you know, if there's 1 in 4 students potentially struggling, I think that there are things that we can do. Um, and So before my ADHD diagnosis, I'd never admitted to anyone that I'd been fired from 3 jobs. And I want you to know that I understand the frustration of working under really bad management, or I understand the signs of the feelings of rejection and the struggles that we go through. I know what it's like to not feel successful. And I don't want to assume that any of you in the room right now is feeling like that. And I hope none of you are. But I think it's highly likely that what I'm saying will resonate with people that you know. And therefore, I think there's really important stuff that I'm going to tell you over the next half an hour or 40 minutes that could help you signpost people to better mental fitness. And that's what I really want to get from this talk for you guys today. So if you'll permit me, I'm going to share 8 habits that I've learned from books that I've read over the last 10 years or so that I think will help and can lead people to a much more successful outcome. So the other thing to say really is, if this doesn't resonate with you, if you're one of those really fortunate people that doesn't struggle at all with poor mental health, I fundamentally believe that the habits in which I'm going to share with you now can help you become a more successful human being. So there we go. Let's jump into it. I'm going to have a quick cup of tea. So, like I said, I had 13 years fighting the black dog, and it took the birth of my son actually, and a fortuitous career change to bring me up out of that place in which I was. I fell into business coaching with my passion for business and entrepreneurship. I fell into business coaching, and it was on the back of another breakdown in truth. But I'm grateful to say that change in my life brought about some changes in the way that I view the world that started at that point. And it really speaks to the power of personal development. I was forced for the first time to focus inwardly on myself and learn stuff rather than not. And I genuinely believe that change saved my life. It changed my outlook. It led me down a completely different path. So, like I said, I've read 200 odd business books and learned some really important lessons along the way. And when Brooks asked me to come and talk to you guys, I thought that I would share some of the profound lessons that I've learned from some of these amazing books. There's a very famous guy called Jim Rohn, this bloke, and he's someone that you're going to hear me quote a number of times today. And he once mused that how is it that one person can do the same job as another person for the same amount of hours, yet that person earns twice as much money as that person? How is that the case? How can that be? They're both working for the same company, one's making twice as much money. And the answer he posed was value. He proposed that one person can provide twice as much value as another person and therefore is worth twice as much money. And by adding more value, you can make more money. And that's the secret. And the secret to adding value, in my opinion, and Jim Rohn's opinion, and lots of these other authors would attest the same, is actually through personal development. So I'm going to share some habits, as I said, that I've picked up from some of these amazing authors, and yeah, we'll go from there. So, habit one: sharpen the saw, and it comes from one of the first books that I was encouraged to read when I fell into the world of personal development. It sold more than 40 million copies worldwide, and it's safe to say it's a book that set me on a new path. Stephen Covey wrote The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, and it's an absolute classic in personal and professional development. He basically outlines a framework of principles and gives 7 things that people can do to become a more effective version of themselves. It's a book that I'm reading at the moment for the third time. And it's a book that I would encourage every single person on this call, watching this video, to pick up and explore. Whether you read, I should have done this actually, shouldn't I? I should have done this to kind of give you um, a little bit of proof that I actually do read this stuff. But the habit that I want to talk to you about really is it's for me, it's the foundational habit that sets all of the rest of these up. And Stephen Covey talks about habit 7, sharpening the saw. If you want to become a more successful version of yourself, a happier version of yourself, it's really, really, really important to understand that you're not going to be as effective if you are a blunt saw, if you are using a blunt saw. And he uses the analogy of a guy who's cutting a tree, and he's using a very blunt saw to cut the tree. And as hard as he tries to cut down that tree, he's just expending a huge amount of effort and not getting very far until he stops and he starts to sharpen the saw. And when he's done sharpening the saw, he takes a bunch of time to start sharpen the saw. And all of a sudden, the saw starts going through like a hot knife on butter. And the 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 importance of it really is that in life, all of us come up against glass ceilings. Like we are as good as the limits of our ability right now. And if there's stuff out there that you are not able to do, my encouragement to you is sharpen the saw, learn how to do it, figure it out. It might mean learning a new skill. It might mean exercising more so that you can stay physically strong and mentally sharp. It might mean practicing gratitude. It might mean doing all sorts of things. But if you see it as a kind of self renewal, a self improvement, and we go to work as Jim Rohn would say, work harder on yourself than you do on your job. You will find, I promise you, more success in your life. So, success habit one is sharpen the saw. This one, The Miracle Morning, is actually the book that I would call my game changer book. It's written by my friend Hal Elrod. You're going to hear me say my friend a few times. There's some relevance to that I'll get to a little bit further down the line, but it's written by my friend Hal Elrod. He's sold, I don't know, 3 million copies, something like that now. And this was the actual book that helped me come off of those antidepressants within a really short space of time. Funnily enough, really short space of time. I'd been on them 13 years. I'd tried to come off them probably 40 times in that period of time. And I read this book, and within 2 weeks of practicing the miracle morning, I'd come off the tablets. Now I was ready. I'd built a scaffold of personal development around me, but this was the book that helped me create discipline and consistency. And I think that those things are extremely important. When you look at successful people, they are usually more disciplined than your average, and they are consistent. And that's what Hal Elrod's book, The Miracle Morning, talks about. Now, in that book, he talks to success habits. There's going to be I'm wrapping up an awful lot of the same ideas from different books here, but he talks about success habits, and he studied people who were successful, and he found that people who are successful do a number of different things. He found that they practice silence, and what he means by silence is kind of affirmations and visualizations. They spend time in silence, gathering their thoughts, visualizing a better future, a better tomorrow, and affirming to themselves that they're great at what they do. They train their reticular activating system to do just that. He also says observed that people who are successful spend time exercising, they spend time reading, and they spend time scribing or journaling, as he calls it. And he found these 6 habits are kind of foundational to lots of people who are successful. And when he tried to start to bolt them together, he realized that actually, by the time he'd finished work, he didn't have any motivation for it. When he tried to do it in the middle of the day, things got in the way. So what he did was set his clock an hour early, and he practiced those things that were, proven success habits an hour before he would have normally got out of bed. So by the time he would have normally got out of bed, he was feeling pumped, he was feeling fresh, he'd visualized success, he'd worked on himself. And lo and behold, I took this, I drank the Kool-Aid, and I can promise you with my hand on my heart, it worked for me. It works for me. The success habit specifically that this book talks to is become a better version of yourself by being disciplined, by being the person that can, that does, rather than the person that puts things off, and then do that over and over and over again. And you will turn into a better version of yourself as a result. So there we go. Habit 2. Habit 3. It's not really a habit, this one, to be honest with you. But it is finding your why. Find your ikigai, find your purpose. This book I talk to people about so often that I just couldn't not include it within this within this kind of section. I believe that so many of us in life are less happy than we could be because we settle. We settle for less than we deserve. A recent YouGov, I think it was, poll said that 17% of all the people in the UK actually love what they do. It's all right, 17%. But more than 50% of us actually hate our jobs. That is just such a shit statistic. And I'll hypothesize that people hate their jobs because they're not doing the things that truly light them up for people that they believe in. They settled, I think. And people settle for all sorts of reasons because it's convenient, because a bird in the hand is worth two in the job, and a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, and a job's a job. But it's not always, and especially for you young people out there, you know, the students that are watching this, I just want to ram it into your head that you should find what lights you up and focus all of your energy on doing that. Don't give up. Don't settle. Go for what you truly love. And this book helps you figure that out. It's an amazing book. Essentially, it gets you to ask yourself 4 questions. And you don't need to read the book, by the way, to find your ikigai. You can just write 4 lists. What do you love? What do you love doing? What are you good at? What does the world need? And what will, probably more important for you guys, what will the world need over the next 5, 10, 15 years? And then what can you be paid for? You have to write those 4 lists. And within those 4 lists, you will find your ikigai at the center of what you should be doing. And you should pursue that with all your might. If you do that, you will be happy. And you know what really is success other than being happy with a lot, right? So I would truly, truly, truly encourage you to figure this out, to figure out what's going to make you happy and then pursue that with everything you've got. Okay, the next one comes from the OG of personal development, or one of the OGs, I should say, Jim Rohn. This guy, lots of you will be familiar with a guy called Tony Robbins, who is like a guru to millions of people. He's made billions of dollars doing lots of kind of motivational talks and shows and so on and so forth. What you probably don't know is this guy, Jim Rohn, was Tony Robbins' first ever mentor. So this guy is the guy that Tony Robbins learned from for 5 years. Before he went off and did it for himself, he learned from this guy for 5 years. And I've said to you already, you know, that Rohn offered a lot of profound insights. And, you know, to kind of just go back to habit 2, he said, success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. There's that discipline word. He also said you're the average of the 5 people that you spend most time with. That's going to be in another habit in a minute. My personal favorite on this topic really is don't wish that your life was easier, wish that you were better. That's sharpening the saw, right? All of this stuff is all interlinked. And the seven habits of for wealth and happiness, seven, excuse me, the seven strategies for wealth and happiness. It's a really easy little book. It's like 120 pages or something, big text. It's a beautiful book to read quickly. But the thing that Rohn talks about very often is goal setting. And you won't find successful people in life that don't set goals. Daily goals, weekly goals, monthly goals, yearly goals, 10 yearly goals. You get the picture. People who are successful, people who achieve the things that they want to achieve, set goals. And this book encourages you to figure out what it is that you truly want and then build a plan around those goals. So, yeah, I would highly encourage you to read this book, to sharpen the saw, and to most importantly, understand that if you want to be a more successful version of yourself, start setting some goals. There we go. Habit 4. Go. Here's another one of my friends. Michael Lennington came to talk to my community a while ago, and he wrote this book, The 12-Week Year, with his friend Brian Moran. And it's a really interesting little book, which is focused on creating plans. Instead of yearly plans, they suggest that you break the plans that you've got and the goals that you've got down into 12-week cycles. Any of the uni lecturers and the people watching who are alumni that are in corporate will understand that corporates do this on a quarterly basis. But for you students, you might not understand that yet. And my encouragement to you is to really think about what I will say is you will greatly overestimate what you can do in a week. We all do. We overestimate what we can do in a week. We will greatly underestimate what we can do in a year. So by breaking the year down into 4 12-week periods with a little week at the end for a little bit of R&R and rest and relaxation, you can create yourself a plan which has got enough time to make a meaningful contribution to the goal that you want to hit without being too long that you lose track of it. So the what they say is that the shorter time frame adds urgency, and it's a really clear way to manage your progress. So habit 5, create a plan. Habit 6. Oh, I've not been doing this properly, have I? Habit 6. I run a business called Mastermind9. Came from this book. And this book, Think and Grow Rich, is probably the original text on personal development. I reckon it was close to the first proper study on successful people. First published in 1937 by a gentleman called Napoleon Hill. And at the time, it was groundbreaking. It's gone on to sell more than 100 million copies. And he studied the most successful people on the planet at the time. People like Henry Ford, Harvey Firestone, Thomas Edison, Walt Disney, really, really successful people. And what he found, Napoleon Hill, in this book, Think and Grow Rich, is that there are 13 laws to success. And one of those is they belong to a mastermind. They belong to a group of people that share ideas and help each other overcome challenges. I read that and started a business as a result of reading it. But the thing that I want you to take away, and the thing that I want you to take away from this book specifically, is the importance of belief in yourself. You will not find a successful person out there who has poor self-esteem. You will not find a successful person out there who does not believe passionately in what they do and why they do it and their capability to achieve incredible things. So I think it's crucial for anyone who wants to get good at anything. When you're faced with rejection or challenge, I mean, building self-relief through positive affirmations, there's that one again, through visualization, through reflection, will give you the resilience to keep going and to overcome. Uh, and for me, his lessons have been absolutely transformative. I've learned to stay positive in my beliefs, in my skills, even when I face setbacks. And don't get me wrong, it's not been a bed of roses the last 8 years. I can tell you there have been a lot of, business ownership. If any of you are going to go into business ownership, let me tell you, it's like a roller coaster. Having that self-belief that everything will work out will make the difference in your life. There we go. Another one of my friends. Do you know, this is really annoying. I've been lecturing at Brooks now on how to network into the job that you want for the last 3 years. And pretty much every time I do that lecture, at least a couple of times or 3 times a year, I give away a copy of Bob Burg's book. So when I go to my bookshelf today, I realized that I've given away the last of my copies. My personal copy, I gave away the last time at that talk. So I've got Go Giver Leader here. But the original Go Giver, I think, is where this understanding of know, like, trust comes from. There's a lady called Porter Gale, who's the former vice president of Virgin, vice president of marketing for Virgin. And she wrote a book called Your Network is Your Net Worth. And I would suggest that if you want to be successful, if you want to live a more successful life, it's really, really, really useful to network into the right people. Now, unashamedly, the next few slides come under the same habit. So the habit is network like a pro, and I'm going to teach you how to do that. And I've taken 3 slides from my Network Like a Pro presentation. So Bob Burg suggests that in order to network like a pro, in order to get someone to buy something from you, whether that's they're buying you as a human being, whether that's they're buying your product or service, whether they're buying, when I say buying you as a human being, what I mean by that is you're getting a job. It's really important that they'll never buy anything from you before they know you. They'll never buy anything, even if they know you, without liking you, and they'll never buy anything from you until they trust you. So I'm going to talk to you over the next few minutes about know, like, trust, and how you can specifically work on these 3 things that will make you more successful or help you become more successful in this habit of networking. So first things first, know. You will have heard me say my friend Hal Elrod, my friend Bob Burg, my friend Michael Lennington. You would have heard me say my friends. The fact is that I have met and had those guys speak to my little audience in England. And really, in its own right, A guy that sold 4 million books. What's he doing talking to little old me? I shouldn't have been able to get him, especially when you understand that Hal Elrod charges $48,000 for his keynote speech. How did I do it? Well, I got him to know me first, and this is how I got him to know me. Now, I'm going to make an assumption that everyone that's listening knows what LinkedIn is. If you don't know what LinkedIn is, the first thing to do is to go away and find out what LinkedIn is. And the second thing to do is to start to use it, because for me, there is nothing on earth that makes it as easy to become known by people as using LinkedIn effectively. So that's where I'm going to start with this. I think that visibility is really everything, especially in the early stages of whatever it is that comes next. So, this is my own original IP, by the way. Of all of the stuff that I've stolen from other people, this comes from me, and I can absolutely promise you that it works. So I call it GR, or the G and 5 Rs. If you want to get someone to know who you are, you need to have a goal. Who do you want to be known by? So let's just play it forward. Most of the people listening are going to be students. You figured out your ikigai, you know what your values are, you know the sort of work that you should be doing for the sort of company that you'd love to work for. That's the starting place, right? You figured that out. Then the goal is, who are the people in that job that I want? Who are the people? Oh, hello. Who are the people that are further ahead in that job? Who's the HR director? Who's the managing director? Forgive me if you can hear my dog. He's about to kill a postman. Um, have a goal to become known by the people in the job you want and the people that can help you get into the job that you want. That's the first place to start, I would suggest. The next thing to do is to research. So you probably don't know who they are, right? So you need to go away and go, Bob Smith, managing director. Sarah, she's the HR director. That's the office manager. Figure out, map who these people are. So you research them, and in the process of researching who they are, you need to try and find something to relate to. Really important to be able to relate to other human beings, as you'll learn in a minute when I talk through Dale Carnegie. So, what do I mean by relate? Did they go to Brooks? Do they live in Oxfordshire? Have they, do they know someone that you know, or know someone that knows someone? How can you relate to that person? There must be something in there. There must be a commonality. Do you like what they post? When you can relate to someone because you like what they post, that's good enough. The next R is reveal. So once you know who they are, you've got a goal to be known by them, you know who they are, you've done your research, you've found something to relate to. The next thing to do is to reveal yourself. And the way that the LinkedIn experts would tell you to do that is look, like, comment, share. Look, like, comment, share. I don't think that's enough, truly. I think that when you reveal yourself, you need to go to their profile and you need to show that you're really interested in them. You need to go deep on their profile. You need to look at what they're posting. You need to like, but not just once. You need to like a number of things. You need to then leave a number of different comments to show that you have found this person and you are genuinely interested in what they're saying. The beauty of this is that when that person then opens up their LinkedIn profile, whenever it might be, all of a sudden it's Pete Moss looked, Pete Moss liked, Pete Moss liked, Pete Moss commented, Pete Moss commented, Pete Moss liked, and they're like, who on God's earth is Pete Moss? But in that moment, I've become known by that person. They know who I am because they're like, why have they gone deep? Who is this person? And they go and check me out. And that's when You hit the first step. That's what I did to Bob Berg. That's what I did to Michael Lennington. That's what I did to Hal Elrod. And I was then able to move them from no to like. So once you've revealed yourself, you reach out. They know that you've been looking. They know that you've been commenting. You then reach out with a message that says, "Look, I really like what you do. I'd love to connect." And if they connect, fantastic. You start a conversation. If they don't connect, you repeat the process because sometimes they won't connect. But if you continue to go round the loop, they will. So that's no. Like when I was studying my dissertation on the characteristics of entrepreneurs, I wrote my dissertation on entrepreneurship. Can theory help you pick winners? I studied lots of very successful people during that dissertation. And what I can tell you is this book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, was mentioned more than any other book by the people who I interviewed, who I read about. It was mentioned many times, sold over 30 million copies, and it offers really incredible advice about how to be liked by people. And one of the big things, the 6 secrets on how to get people to like you, is this slinny. Um, Whether it's at the beginning of an event, during an interview, a genuinely warm smile can instantly make you feel more approachable. It will convey confidence, friendliness, openness, and I think that, it's the first step. If you want to be known, if you want to be liked, smile at people. In sales, there's an analogy that you've got one of these and two of these, and you should use them in this proportion. But I think it's a good analogy for life as well. You need to listen well to what the other person is saying. And then you need to understand and ask questions about their interests. What are they interested in? And then listen for those interests and bag them. Um, and then the other I here, interests. Then it's about talking in terms of their interests. So you find out what they're interested in and then talk to them about what they're interested in. It's really simple but smart. Um, when I do this, when I do this with the students, I don't usually have smile, listen, interest, etc. on the screen to start with. I just start with Slinny and I ask people to throw ideas at what the S might be and what the I might be. And with the N, I tell them that it's the most important word in their vocabulary. It's the most important word. What is it? And the amount of people who say no, if I had a tenner for every time that someone said that someone threw out the word no, I mean it's a damning indictment, really, isn't it, on how often we hear no. But no, our names are way more important than the word no, I would suggest, and so would Dale Carnegie. Um, and then make them feel important. And the way you make them feel important is by talking to them about their interests and, making them, blowing smoke in their bum and being genuinely interested in what they do. So there we go. That's like, and then trust. I'm going to run through these because I'm conscious of time. The trust equation was written by a gentleman called Ken Blanchard, writes fantastic parables. I love them. And he says that to build trust with someone, you must first demonstrate credibility. So, what proof have you got that you can do what you say you can do? Reliability. Do you do what you say you're going to do on time? And I is intimacy. That talks to the how you get people to feel. Credibility plus reliability plus intimacy divided by self-interest. If I If you smell that I'm trying to sell you something, you are instantly turned off and you don't trust me. If I'm genuinely interested in you, I'm interested in building a relationship, and there's no whiff of me trying to get something from it, you'll probably end up liking me. So there we go. So know, like, and trust. The habit um, um, was how to network, and the way that you network is by becoming known, liked, and trusted by people. We are coming to the end, lovely people. Um, and this is a lovely little gem. Who moved my cheese? 120 pages or thereabouts. Lots of pictures and big writing. Really, really brilliant book on change. Um, and I'll give you a very brief overview of the story. There's two mice in a maze and two men in a maze, and they're used to getting some cheese that's in the maze every day. And then one day they go to the place where they get the cheese, and the cheese is gone. And the two mice, they scurry off. They sniff out some cheese, and the two men, they sit there and sulk about the fact that their cheese has moved. I think this is a really, really, really important analogy for what's going on in the world at the moment, actually. Our cheese is moving. Our cheese has moved. With AI, with everything that's going on, there is a ton of change around at the moment. And there are people who accept that change and they're proactive in going, what's the next thing? And there are people that are sitting there with their head in the sand going, well, this isn't fair. And my encouragement to you for this last habit is to accept the fact that life won't always be giving you cheese. Sometimes you've got to go and hunt it out. And I really think that's an important, paradigm for life, actually. So there we go. Um, After 13 years of fighting the black dog, like I said, it took the birth of my son to bring me up, and I fell into this world of business coaching, and it changed everything. And I genuinely believe that through taking the lessons that I've learned from these books, these fantastic books, um, that I have become many times more successful than I was in the period of my life before. And so, yeah, there we go. Success habits for humans: sharpen the saw, discipline and consistency, find your ikigai, set goals, create a plan, believe in yourself, network like a pro, accept change, and be proactive. I really, really hope that that's been useful. Any of you that want to connect with me, by all means you can. It would be wonderful to connect with you, and you can scan that QR code for me. So to sum it all up, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Peter. It is really inspiring, and I have a lot of takeaways from it. Remind me of a few things I have to do. So yeah, thank you for this. I'm just gonna ask the participants any questions. Any question for Peter? You can ask the questions, or you can put in the chat. And while we have, well, I will start. I have a couple of questions, Peter, if that's okay.
Yes, of
Thinking
course.
about students. So
Hmm.
you have 10 books out there with lots of interesting habits.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna say I only want one to start with, what is the first one? Is it
Oh,
do I do it by order, by order of
I
habits,
think it
or
depends on where you're at, and I think um with any of these things, right, a lot of them say the same thing in a different way. You know, they all came from this one, really. That was the original and best. But I think it depends. For me, if I was talking to someone, if I bring it back to the 25% of young people are, or 26% of young people are struggling with their mental health right now. If there was one book, it would be The Miracle Morning. Um, and or it would be The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. They're probably the two that I would start with. And I think that The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People um, is a really important book. I mean, it's a big one, and and that's why I'm mindful actually to encourage people to start with. Most people don't sharpen the saw, right? Most people who, you know, I work with hundreds of business owners, have worked with hundreds of business owners over the past 8 years. And I would say that the majority of them, the vast majority of them, before they spend time with me, might have read one or two books in the last 10 years. And that's why I say start with, well, that's why I started with sharpening the saw, because I think that if you look at any of the truly successful people on this planet, they're readers. And you don't have to be a reader, right? What I've learned about uh, visual, auditory, kinesthetic learning styles is, you know, and especially with AI nowadays, you don't necessarily need to read the book to get the lessons. So what I we always ask the people who apply for jobs with us to read a book. And it used to be you need to read a book, and now it's you need to study the book. And the way that you study the book might be you listen to it on Spotify or Audible or whatever. It might be that you watch a video about it on YouTube. It might be that you just ask AI for a really good overview of the major lessons from it. Doesn't really matter how you take the lessons as long as you take the lessons, I think.
Thank you. Thank you for this fight. Um, Last question from me, and probably this is we get this quite a lot from students as well. So, this talk is recorded. It'll be sent to a few people. So hopefully, people will find your tips are useful as much as at least as much as me. It's about self-belief.
Mhm.
Regardless at the stage of your career, and I've taken one of them, I always have this doubt, and when I see it in students when they get rejected, it's easier to stop doing the thing that you're doing and think go back to your shell. How what practical tips would you give students, people at different stages of their career, to keep this self-belief up? Okay.
So look, the story of Colonel Sanders, KFC, the story of Colonel Sanders is that he was 67 before he launched his first KFC. He'd got the blend of spices right and went to hundreds of different places to try and get them to buy into him, and they said no. The story of Thomas Edison is that he discovered 1,000 different ways that the light bulb didn't work. The story of Walt Disney is that he was rejected time and time and time and time again. And he tried and it didn't work. And he tried and it didn't work. The same for Henry Ford. If you look, and you know, all of them are old ones, but good ones, right? You look at the modern entrepreneurs, it's full of people that tried, it didn't work, and they didn't go, this failure defines me. They went, I've figured out a way that it doesn't work. And I think that it comes back to the fact that it's all in here. Really, it's all in here. You've got to think that you can. What is the Henry Ford quote? If you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. If you think you can do it, if you think that you will get there, if you believe, there's another book that I didn't include called The Secret, and it's about the power of manifesting. Wonderful book. If and some people think that The Secret is it's a bit woo-woo. It's you know, um, how can you manifest stuff into reality? But I think it comes back to the fact that what he would tell you is that people who are successful think about it and they start to believe it and they practice in their mind before they do it for real. Right? You look at Johnny Wilkinson, right? Rugby player, UK rugby player. You look at the way that he, held his hands and he looked 5 times before he kicked the ball. That's him visualizing the ball going over the um the posts 5 times before he kicked the ball. You look at Tiger Woods that will tell you that every single shot, every time he takes a swing, he's visualizing exactly where the ball's going to go. He's played the shot twice or 3 times in his head before he's played it for real. And I think it's a phenomenally powerful skill that most people go, oh, it's woo woo, it's not for me. But
Thank you. Yeah,
one
yeah. Sorry.
percent, 1% of the world's population. And I want to caveat this because money does not equal success, in my opinion, right? I've chased money, and frankly, I couldn't give a shit anymore. I just want to be happy. That's the most important thing in life. Um, but money's a useful success metric
An easy one for that
and
that
an
matter, I
easy,
think.
an easy one. Yeah.
Uh, we have one question, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Uh, give time. So thank you very much. The talk is very fabulous. I would like to know which three habits are most important in your life.
I can tell you that without a shadow of a doubt, the the number one thing for me, the thing that helped me come up and out was discipline and consistency. When I discipline myself to do the things that, are easy, it's easy to get up a bit early, but it's very difficult. But when I discipline myself to do that very regularly, I turn into a better version of myself very quickly. Because when you say you're going to do something, whatever it is in life, you say you're going to do something and then you don't do it, you send a psychological message to your mind, which says, I'm someone that doesn't deliver on my promises to myself, which is really powerful. So I think the discipline and consistency thing is incredibly important. Um, I would say that my ability to win friends, has helped me. My ability to network into situations has helped me a great deal. And I think that um, ikigai, doing what you love, like I love this. I love this. I love being able to help, especially young people. Um, but I mean, that's three, but I could have given you all of them. I think they're all important. But thank
Thank
you for the
you.
question.
No, it's a great question and a great answer, and it's very evident that you're passionate, and it's coming across from slide one really. So, and we, not just only me, myself, and all the attendees and the students, very much appreciate your time. We could probably spend hours talking to you and discussing the habits and the books and so on. It's an hour really. do your talk justice, but we very much appreciate it.
My pleasure.
On behalf of Oxbrooks, we again thank you once again. Thank you, Crystal, for organizing this.
Thank you,
Have a
Crystal.
have a lovely day, everybody on the call, and thank you for participating. And we'll see you. We'll see you soon. Thank you,
Bye,
Peter. Thank you.
guys.
Bye bye.